There's a bold plan that could be coming to your ballot come November. Big business paying more for the state's schools, at least if Reclaim Idaho has something to say about it. And they've been saying a lot about it lately. And they've also been rounding up signatures in hopes of getting this education initiative one step closer to being considered by voters. Their plan is to increase the corporate tax rate to raise funds for schools, which isn't always an easy thing to do in a conservative state like Idaho. Joe Paris checked in with Reclaim Idaho for a peek at their statewide door-to-door campaign, how it will work, and whether they can get the names needed by the end of this month.
From Dog Bark Park to the flea market under the freeway in Wallace, Idaho, volunteers for Reclaim Idaho have worked for months gathering signatures for the Quality Education Act's petition.
Well, we've collected nearly 88,000 signatures now.
Luke Mayville is co-founder of Reclaim Idaho, the same group that got Medicaid on the ballot a few years back. So what would Idahoans be voting on if their initiative qualifies for this November's ballot? It would be a question for Idahoans, yes or no. Do you want to change the individual tax rate so that any individual making more than $250,000 annually would have every dollar earned over that amount taxed at 10.92%? Right now, the top tax rate is 6%. The same 10.925% would also be created for married couples earning more than $500,000 annually, and the act would also increase the state's corporate tax from 6% up to 8%. Mayville says heading into the final days of their signature campaign, they feel good about their progress. As he just mentioned, the group has close to 90,000 signatures, way more than the 65,000 needed to qualify. But as Mayville explains, many signatures in campaigns like these end up getting tossed out.
Sometimes campaigns will end up having about half of their signatures invalid because the person who signed at the wrong address, or they weren't registered to vote, or their name wasn't legible.
So for Reclaim Idaho, the more signatures, the better. And as the campaign continues, Mayville says they've now met the other major requirement needed to qualify for the ballot.
Also cleared the major hurdle of collecting the signatures we need from 18 different legislative districts.
Volunteers have been working the pavement since last summer.
We get to a lot of doors, tons of doors, but a lot of people aren't home and a lot of people don't answer. When we do get people to answer their doors and have a conversation, almost all of them sign.
Sam Sandmeyer is a volunteer with Reclaim Idaho. She says their team has had a lot of great conversations with people from all sides of the political spectrum while knocking on doors across the state. That, of course, comes with people that aren't sure about their idea.
They're concerned about curriculum or things like that. We just say this initiative has nothing to do with curriculum or what is taught. It has to do with providing our kids with certified teachers who are trained and able to teach their kids.
Mayville and Sandmeyer say their conversations with Idahoans center on an elephant in the room, a statistic many Idahoans know.
Idaho is dead last out of 50 states in per student funding. Most Idaho voters find that humiliating, and they also understand that it's really hurting our kids.
According to a 2021 report by the National Education Association, Idaho ranks last in per student funding. So the goal for this group till the end of the month, quickly get as many signatures as possible, with the emphasis on quickly.
Luke and I were jogging, we're running from house to house yesterday.
We're people who believe that every child in Idaho deserves a quality education. We don't think we're anywhere close to that right now, and we want to give the voters of Idaho a chance to give our kids something closer to the quality education they deserve.
Going through every signature and processing that and verifying, that's a long process. That's going to be something that's going to take a couple months, as you mentioned. But they were very successful when it came to their Medicaid campaign a couple of years ago. How does this one compare?
Well, they were telling me earlier, Brian, that in terms of the door-to-door campaign, this is very similar to their Medicaid campaign that many people might have seen a few years ago. The interesting conversations they're having with Idahoans about education is similar to what they had with Medicaid in the sense, Brian, that they're finding that Idahoans that are on different sides of the spectrum, they agree on something. They agree that they say, we want to give more money to education. Of course, as we mentioned in the story, there's a lot of conversations these days about curriculum, critical race theory, funding education. This only has to do with sending more money to public education, and at the expense of raising tax rates for Idaho's highest earners as well as the corporate tax rate. So that's really what Idahoans will have to decide if they want people making more than $250,000 per year to pay a higher tax for every dollar above $250,000 that they make, also raising the income, or excuse me, the corporate tax. So if this qualifies for the ballot, and they'll find out probably in July, this would be on the November ballot, and it would just need a simple majority, 50+1 from Idaho voters. But just to be very clear, just if this petition is approved, doesn't mean anything other than it'll go on the ballot for all Idahoans to vote on. It would be interesting to see how that vote would shake out. But again, the goal is to be on the November 2022 ballot, the same ballot that the governor's race, for example, will be on.
The general election. All right, thank you very much, Joe.